guys, and welcome. We are team number 5, and today we will be talking about testing grammar. Here we have the table of content that we will see during this video. First of all, we will see what testing grammar is in general. The second point that we will see is how grammar is measured. Next, we will see a little research related to the topic. And lastly, we will see assessment, which will include types of items and rubrics as well. So let's start with testing grammar.
Grammar testing. First, we'll start by explaining what is testing grammar or grammar testing. The testing of grammar is one of the mainstays of language testing. While such tests test the ability to either recognize or produce correct grammar and usage, they do not test the ability to use the language to express meaning. How it is measured. What is being measured in grammar testing? Some grammar tests have specific questions designed to be psychometrics of various core English grammar skills, whereas others are designed to simply test knowledge. When measuring knowledge is to see if whether an individual can recall a fact or information with given enough time. And when measuring skills is to see if an individual can rather instantaneously make use of the knowledge to accomplish something, such as communicating an idea properly. So, how are grammar tests measured? Grammatical performance is typically assessed by raters using scales that gauge grammatical accuracy, complexity, and the range of grammatical structures used.
Based on empirical evidence from German learners of English, Penman developed what has been known as the teachability hypothesis, which suggests that while certain developmental sequences are fixed and cannot be altered by grammar teaching, other structures can benefit from instruction anytime they are taught. Based on this hypothesis, it is possible to influence sequences of development favorably through instruction if grammar teaching coincides with the learner's readiness to move to the next developmental stage of linguistic proficiency. R. Ellis, N. Ellis, and Larsen Freeman and Long suggests that while instructed language learning may not have major effects on sequences of acquisition, it has facilitative effects on both the rate and the ultimate level of L2 acquisition. Similarly, a recent meta-analysis of 49 students on the effectiveness of L2 instruction concludes that explicit instruction, meaning presenting the structure, describing it and exemplifying it, and giving rules for its use, results in substantial gains in the learning of target structures in comparison to implicit instruction, usually consisting of communicative exposure to the target form alone, and that these gains are durable over time. Spada notes that when learners receive communicative exposure to grammar points introduced through formal instruction, their awareness of the forms becomes longer lasting and their accuracy of use improves. Also, Van Patten suggests that one way to teach grammar communicatively is through processing input, or what he called processing instruction. In this approach, an initial exposure to explicit instruction is combined with a series of input processing activities, consisting mainly of tasks that encourage the comprehension of the target structure rather than its production. These activities have been suggested to help learners to create form meaning connections in input and hence process grammar for meaning.
Now, we will take a look at the types of items that we can use in grammar testing. Alright, first of all, there are two types of items that we can use while testing: the direct test items and the indirect test items. The direct test items asks the candidate to perform the skill that is being tested. An example could be to ask our students for an oral presentation. And the indirect test items examines the candidate knowledge of individual items in the language. While testing grammar, we should use the indirect test item. Here we have a list of items that we can use while testing grammar, which are the multiple choice, error correction, some items to test knowledge of word or sentence order, completion items, transformation items, word changing items, and sentence combining exercises. These are just some examples of items that we can use to test grammar in our students. But there are many more that we can use. Now we will take a look at rubrics that can be used while testing grammar. Here we have some characteristics that a grammar rubric should always have. It should always be detailed on the content that is being measured. It should always explain why the exam is being applied to the students. And it should always have different points to give to our students depending on their overall performance in the test. Here we have an example of a rubric created to evaluate grammar. As I mentioned before, here we have 4 different points that can be given to a student on each dimension, which are A for exemplary, B for competent, C for emerging, and D for failing. We hope that you have enjoyed our presentation and thank you for your time.